think Tanner's trying to join in, Ray, if you'll check the waiting room.
It is not showing anybody waiting at the moment. But I will keep monitoring it.
Yep.
Yep, I've got it turned over there, so I'll keep an eye out.
Okay.
Yeah, let me do a screen share, jump over to the PowerPoint. Okay, that went to full screen, didn't it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we always like to start off with this slide just to remind everyone that we're not here just to make loans. We are definitely more than a money source. We're here to be your funding partners. And in that, our purpose as a company is to help our clients achieve financial freedom and security. So that's what we're here for at REI Funding Partners. So why do we meet? So that's kind of the purpose of the business, but why do we meet? A couple of reasons. It's really kind of our three pillars for Inner Circle. One is community, because we know that building your network is one of the very best things that you can do to build up your business. I think we all know that it's who you know as much or more than what you know that gets business done. And then learn. What you don't know can hurt you. So when we all come together and either whether it's a topic like tonight that's on a specific topic, at some points in the future, we're going to have some panel discussions to see what's working best now. Learning what you don't know can be very beneficial and help you avoid pitfalls. And then finally, the third pillar, success. Achieving your goals is not a hit or miss thing. We want to make sure that people have a process to follow so that they can get the results in their business that we want. And Les Brown is someone I've listened to for years for wisdom and motivation. I love this quote by him on the screen here. You don't have to be great to get started, but you do have to get started to be great. So that's kind of the theme quote for the night. The layout for this meeting, we start out with this welcome and introduction time for a few minutes. And then right now we're in our 6 Steps to Six-Figure series. That'll be about 50 minutes, including some Q&A, and then 5 minutes at the end, just to wrap up. If you're new, as Julia was mentioning earlier, the tools that we've been covering in this series, recordings from our previous sessions are available on the Inner Circle webpage. We'll get you the link for that at the end of this call. And we do want to encourage you to connect in the community on our Facebook group. You can introduce yourself and interact with people there. And when you join that Facebook group, you can share your name, what city you're investing in to help people get to know you a bit. And then just if there's anything there that you need help with or something that can be helpful to other people, that's a great format to share that. And we'll have another kind of announcement. I'll let Julia give the announcement kind of near the end when we're talking about what they're going to be able to get on the Inner Circle page. That's that. All right, Parker, you are the accountability guy tonight. I know you've been waiting on this, kind of rubbing your hands to see you were going to call on a couple of people and see how they did from the previous month. So
yeah, this is a thing that we've started just to show you guys how, we can sit here and we can come to these meetings and we can learn and we can digest everything. But if we don't take action, then, it's all for nothing. If we don't network, if we don't take what we learn and actually go do something tangible, then it just doesn't mean anything. And so we want to implement this to show you guys too. It's like most of y'all know we're investors ourselves. Yes, we do private money lending, but we all invest in real estate. Tanner invests in real estate. Ray invests in real estate. Julia has done real estate for 15, 20 years. So the first couple of months, we just did an accountability update, kind of showing me and Tanner's progression throughout 2023. And so starting this month, we just want to give, I'm going to call on maybe 1 or 2, 3 people just to share with me what you've done in the last month, like whether that's, close the deal, wholesale the deal, flip the deal, analyze a couple of deals. It just doing something matters. It doesn't have to be flipping and making 100 grand. It can just be, hey, did you analyze a deal? That's important. Taking the next steps instead of having analysis paralysis is what's important. So, Brandon, I'm going to call you out, man. I know you have, from the first time we met, taking leaps and bounds, and so you've got a couple wins in your plate. So, man, if you don't mind, Brandon, tell me a little bit about kind of what you've done in the last month or so.
Yeah, absolutely, Parker. Hey, I appreciate it. For everyone who's on the call who doesn't know me, Brandon Wilson, I really primarily invest out of state. I'm currently in Navarre, Florida, which is in between Pensacola and Destin, down in the coast, in the Panhandle. I majority invest in Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, and there's some properties in Montgomery as well. So, yeah, so the properties I've been getting, like we discussed really before the call, a lot of these properties have been on third-party auctions. In many cases, I would find them that way. And, my pockets aren't as deep to just go to a courthouse and just, drop a certified check just yet. But in the process of, building that funds where I can go and compete that way. So there are limited resources with many companies on third-party auction sites. And normally 9 times out of 10, if I can beat them to the punch, put in a pre-auction offer, that seller would normally accept it if it's an aggressive offer. So here recently, I'm buying one in Athens, Alabama, which is like 40 minutes away from Huntsville. So the individuals who don't want to be in the hustle bustle, want to be more in the rural area of Athens, it's becoming a hot market. And at that price point that I'm buying at, there's no current inventory there. So I feel very bullish about it. There was a pre-foreclosure property on 14th Avenue, which is directly behind Texas Roadhouse in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Owner was wanting to foreclosure, couldn't catch up on payments, and was actually not even looking to keep the property. So what I was able to do was to give that particular owner $5,000 cash. I paid down the debt, so it did not go up for auction. That it was actually that weekend or that Friday, something like that, and pretty much quit claim deeded over into my name from that perspective. So just really been hustling, getting out, looking for the homes. I'm up some nights when the kids do go to sleep, just looking for different properties that I can really truly go after. So it's been good so far. I'm going to kind of slow it down, let my wife kind of take over because it has been a little tough for just myself running it. So I'm going to get her introduced, and she'll be working with you guys and Tanner to keep it going. So, but it's been good so far. Very thankful and blessed, I guess.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, Brandon. And kind of just to highlight what you said, Brandon works a full-time job. Brandon, you travel quite a bit for your job too, right?
I do. So
Yeah.
District manager for Powerade Body Armor from Mobile, Tallahassee to West Point, Georgia. So
Yeah.
calling on the Coke system.
So what I see there is just hard work and hustling, like you said. And so it can be done if you put in the work and grind it out, and you still got a family. Danielle, I want to call you out. How have you been? What we're doing is we're kind of doing, I know you just hopped in, but accountability update. I know just like Brandon, you work a full-time job that's pretty demanding, but you do great at it, and you also do stuff on the side. What's been kind of going on in your world the last month?
You're out.
There she is.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Okay, I was trying to figure out if my mic was on or not. But so far, just working. I still work full time. I usually work anywhere between 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day. And then in between working, when I get breaks at work or when I get off work, I'm calling my contractor, still tenants, properties. I've slowed down a little bit because I scaled pretty fast. I think too fast. I think I scaled a little too fast because I got started about 2.5 years ago. Let's see, January of 2021 is when I bought my first property, and now I was at 19 properties, but I sold one. So now I'm down to 18 properties. I just finished one, so I'm doing a cash out refinance on that house right now. I've already purchased another one. So my guys just started on it about a week ago. So right now I'm just working on one project. And so I said, I don't know, because I've done so far this year, I've done 5 houses this year. And so I said I might just take it easy for the rest of the year. I don't know. We'll see. Just still same, just family and everything, with everything going on. I was like, well, maybe I might just need to take it easy for the rest of the year. But pretty much the same, just rehabbing, doing a lot of projects, rehabbing, cash out refinance, and find another one. And I've just been kind of just doing the whole burr over and over and over again is what I've been doing for the past 2.5 years. And so it's taken me to where I am now. And so now I'm kind of like, okay, I think I can slow down a bit. And then kind of like one of the classes you guys taught about, I guess, relinquishing some of my responsibility. I feel like I need to start doing that a little bit more, is kind of taking some of my response. I do it all. I do property manager by myself. I do marketing. I do everything all by myself. And my husband, he helps too. Like if I'm at work and there's an issue at a house that I can't get to, he'll run to it and help me out. But I do the bulk of it. And so I think it's about time that I start kind of giving up some of that responsibility and letting someone else do it instead of having to respond to 18 different tenants, well, 17 right now, but 17 different tenants and the contractors, and it's always something. And so I think I'm getting that on top of working full time is starting to get a little overwhelming. And so, yeah, I think, one of your classes, you guys taught that, like, management and everything. And so I'm like, okay, it's time. I got to start kind of handing off some of this responsibility.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, Danielle. I just had a conversation with someone in Mobile today that does property management, and I was really impressed because she said they go over to the property every 90 days to put air filters in, and that gives them a good look at the condition of the property. So I can get you that contact.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Definitely.
Yeah, could be a good connection for you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad to hear all you've done, and I'm glad to hear that you're like willing to give yourself a little break there and take a breath.
Yeah.
We talk internally here a lot about work-life balance, and it is a really important thing. And there are those times that you're just working hard and building things up, but there's times when you got to take a breath too. So I'm glad you got that awareness.
Thanks a bunch. I appreciate you guys' help.
You're welcome. Welcome. Okay, we have got a lot to cover tonight, so we're not going to do any more accountability at the moment. If we have some time at the end, we'll definitely do that. But let's move forward. So kind of one of the things we've been consistently talking about during the months of this 6 steps to 6-figure income are the things we're going to share quickly on this screen. First, you got to have a plan and a process if you're going to consistently hit 6-figure income. The plan is the piece that tells you where you're going, but with just a plan and no process, you're not going to get there. So the process gives you the steps for how to get there. It gives the believability and the how-to. With that being clear, leads into what we're just now talking about. You have to have a good team around you to consistently hit those profits and not burn yourself out. So you've got to be the leader, and then surround yourself by a professional team of people. We are developing something that we're calling our pro team. And that's going to be a list of people that can help you, that are real estate kind of experts, if you will. They're people that in their industry, they work specifically with real estate investors, so they understand how we think. And then finally, step 3, you got to have that mindset of being the CEO of your business. So you've got to take care of the business side of real estate investing and not just be the contractor person out there all of the time. And so realizing what that needs to look like with your team is going to help with that work-life balance. But what you'll also find is when you build it out very intentionally, it's going to raise your income and cut back on your hours. So it's great when it works together like that. So we are on step 5 of our 6 steps to 6 figures. So really getting close to the end of this series. Tonight, we're going to use a word that a lot of people don't like. But this, I want you to start thinking of this as a budget is your friend, because the budget is going to help you see the numbers and it's going to help you pay yourself consistently. So instead of looking at budget as a negative thing, a limiting thing, we're going to teach you how it is a freeing thing, and it's going to actually help you achieve your income goals that you have as a 6-figure investor. So the tool that we're going to introduce tonight for this section where you're managing your cash flow for 6-figure income is called the 6-figure cash flow tool. So it is a spreadsheet. Let me swap over to that for just a moment. Stop this share and do a new share. If the minute that I said spreadsheet, if you kind of had a lump in your throat, don't worry. This one is not complicated. And we will be glad to help. Tonight, we're going to go over it. You're going to come out of this knowing how to use it. But if we need to have another session on it, once you've had a chance to kind of go and use it on your own, we can do that just to help. But overall, if you're not so familiar with Excel, let me just explain a couple of things. At the bottom of an Excel sheet, there can be different tabs, and that's what we've got here. We've got our reserves, we've got expenses, and we've got income at the bottom. And so we're going to start with the reserves. And I want to start right off the bat of busting a myth that can be out there in the real estate investing world. And that myth is you don't need to hold any cash. You need to keep your cash out there invested and working and earning money and buying deals. That's not true. You do have to put money into deals, yes, but reserves are what keep you afloat in your business. It's what pays the bills when you have a slower month. It's what pays the overage if your rehab budget goes $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 over. It's what takes the stress out of life. And it's not if you need your reserves, it's when you need them. So we already do a lot to help our customers with reserves, because we calculate some reserves that you would need with each and every term sheet that you get. So right here in this comment, it says target reserve come from your term sheet. So what I've got here is just an example of someone that's doing multiple projects at once. Here's the target number in dollars of reserves that they need for that. And then what we have over here is just a way to track it month by month. And the reason that we do that is because some people, and hopefully all the people on this call, if you're not there yet, you're headed in the direction of doing multiple projects at once. And so what we've seen in the past, like all of our lessons, all of our tools here are born out of real life situations, real life things that went wrong. And then, we ask the question, how do we fix that for people? So we've had people before coming in doing multiple projects, and they showed us enough money in the bank for the one project, but it wasn't enough for all 2, 3 projects that they had at once. And so what can happen is you start to get finished up with the one project, you're still working on the other 2. The first one, maybe you had some overages on your budget, maybe it didn't sell as quickly as you thought, and now you start to get into a cash crunch because you didn't really have enough for all 3. You thought you did just by looking at your bank balance once, but you might have enough for each of them individually, but not to run all 3 projects together. So what we've done is just make it easy for you to track. So in this case, that deal would have closed in the month of February. So the 9,800 reserves goes there, and you're going to keep that same 9,800 there until, like you see down here on bullet point number 2, your target number can go down when you've taken your final draw. So rehab month. And then in this example, in April, this person took their final draw. So for May, they don't have to have so much in reserves. They just need a little bit to still make their monthly payments until they sell or they refinance. In this case, this second person started a little bit larger deal in March. And so they needed to put the reserves in there for March. And what you see at the bottom row here, this is the total reserves that they need to have in the bank to do those 2 projects. And again, it carries over here. And the months that they're doing the rehab, it would go down. If they finished it up in 3 months, the number would go down in June. And then they started a third project in April. So you can see how the amount of reserves goes up that they would need. So it's again, I'm not sure how to judge if this looks overwhelming for people or if it looks pretty simple or straightforward. If anyone wants to chime in for a minute, does this make sense? Does it leave you with any questions? Give me a little bit of feedback, please. Anybody?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. So I only got a question on how do you know how much to keep in reserves after you do the rehab?
The safest thing is to have at least 3 months of your payments in there. That's the very safest, Ken. So that's a really good question. If you've taken your last draw and you already have it under contract, because you put it out on the market, you had the best looking house out there in your price range, you got it priced right, you get it under contract, you may only need a couple of months if you feel really confident that it's going to cash out in the next 30 to 60 days. If you're doing a refi and it's a long-term lender you've worked with before, and you know the drill, and it's, within 30 to 45 days, they're going to get you cashed out, that's really a good way to do it. So you could just, you could just plug that in right there. If you said, hey, I really only need 1,500, not 2,000, you see that it adjusts the number at the bottom. But it's a really good way to keep up with running multiple projects and how much do you need to have overall. All right, so that's the reserves piece of it. The next screen, before I get there, because there's a little bit, it's a little bit longer on the screen. Just know that running your business, working hard, doing a lot of deals, that doesn't ensure that you're going to get paid a lot. It's really easy, and ask me how I know from personal experience, to be doing all of that stuff, and the money just keeps going out with the bills and the contractors you got to pay and all the supplies, and it's just, you get a big payday in, and then it just all goes back out, and you're left wondering what happened. You saw a big payday and it just kind of like went through your fingers and it's gone. So there's going to be a lot of numbers on this next sheet, but I promise you it's not complicated. It's just a tool to help you keep up with things. And I'll say this too before we get on this page. If you don't have a bookkeeper yet helping you to keep up with everything that's going on with your rehabs, with your rental properties, it is a small expense that will help you make money. So with that said, let me click over here. Down the left side here, we've got the expense categories. Across the columns, we've got a budget, and then we've got, a place to track for each month in the year. At the top, we've got kind of the people category. So personnel or contractors, right? Here's the CEO, that's you. if your target is to pay yourself $100,000 a year to have that 6-figure salary from your rehabbing or your real estate business, 8,500 is your number. Because if you take 8,500 times 12 months, that gives you 102,000. So that's what you need to be paying yourself each and every month to get that 6-figure income. A bookkeeper, I did an estimate based off of some real estate investor bookkeepers that I've talked to. And so I think that's a pretty good estimate right there of $275 a month to have a bookkeeper take care of everything for you and make sure you've got the numbers that you need to be able to analyze what's going on in your business. As you start to scale up, and like you were saying, Danielle, you're doing a lot, but you're kind of feeling like now's the time to start putting people on your team. Like for you, probably the first one is going to be a property manager to take that off of your plate. But as people continue to do more and more rehabs, probably having someone in a project manager position would be an earlier hire. But what we have noticed in over a decade of funding deals for people is that a lot of people in real estate investing are good at the front end of the business, meaning they're out there, finding the deals, being on site, meeting with the contractor, getting the rehab done, going to the supply store, getting supplies. They're out there working in the field a lot, getting the deals done. But what they're not doing is taking care of the back office. And that's where managing the cash flow, making sure your next deal is coming in, making sure you're looking at each deal to hit your target profit, having a target profit per deal, paying yourself each month. All of that stuff happens in the back office. And we've just found that a lot of people don't do that because they're so focused on the front end of the business. So having an admin person can be a piece of what helps you take care of some of the back office chores. And so what I did here for this estimate was just estimate, if you hired somebody 20 hours a week at $15 an hour, $1,200 a month, you could have somebody doing a lot of things for your company. They could even be helping you with out front stuff and on the front part of the business, like making those runs to the supply store that you don't really need to be making. There's a lot of things that an admin person could do. So they don't necessarily have to be office admin. And I put this little comment here, shared by two, because you could find one person out there that works for you and another investor. And, you don't have to hire, nobody has to hire them full time. They can work part-time for two different people. Was there a question coming up there? Okay, wasn't sure if I heard somebody ask something. Yeah, but feel free while we go through this to ask some questions. So that's again, the people part of the monthly expenses. Then we get down into the operating expenses here. And I've just put in some estimates in most of these categories to give you guys an example. But this one, I've got this one colored yellow because I think a lot of people don't really prepare for this. So when you cash out on a flip and you get your profits in from that, you have taxes due on that money. Typically speaking, from an accountant standpoint, if you hold a property for more than a year, you might get capital gains tax treatment, which would be, be a little bit lower. But for most people, you're going to be in and out of your flip in a number of months. And so I just estimated here that your ordinary income level might be 20%. So that's what that number represents. So always important to put aside and pay your taxes on a quarterly basis so you don't get behind. And this is one of the first steps toward doing that. The next thing is, if you saw that screen earlier that said reserves and you're like, I've got some, but how do I really build up enough? Month by month, month by month, you have a target for your number of reserves and you keep putting as much as you can into that reserve account until you get it fully stocked. And then you know what you got you just bought yourself some peace of mind. And peace of mind goes a long ways when you've got that bill to pay. Your house didn't sell as quickly as you thought. Any number of things. I'm sure everyone on this call, including me, has experienced a cash crunch before. And when you can go over there and dip into your well-planned reserves account, do what you got to do, and then when your next deal comes back in, you fill that back up. That's stress lowering, and that's good business. Back office manager, another thing on the line here. That's something that we'll talk about later on some future calls and future communications. But because we realize that a lot of people are good at the front end of the business, but not good at the back office, we have a program in the works called the REI back office to help with the things that a lot of people either are not good at, or they don't have enough time to do that piece of the business. But when you run the back office correctly, you can hit this number like clockwork. And that's what our back office program is going to help people do. Make sure that they're paying themselves that target number. When you're paying yourself, we've found that a payroll company can be worth their weight in gold, because what they can do is take the pay out of your business checking account automatically, and they can put it into your personal account, and you get a W-2 pay stub just like you would on an ordinary job. They pay the state taxes for you. They pay the federal taxes. They pay Social Security, and you don't have to do any of that stuff. It is a beautiful thing. They give you the reports that you or your accountant would need when it comes tax time. So it can be really phenomenal. As you can see on the screen there, it's not really very expensive to have your payroll done. When we think about the payroll taxes, all those things I just mentioned, the state, the federal, it's called FUTA and SUTA and FICA, all that stuff. That's where, when it comes off of your W-2, that's where you're paying it out of your company right there. Again, the payroll company takes care of that. You just want to keep up with it month to month, because it is a real expense to your company. You're going to have interest payments on your rehabs. And so what I did in here, I just plugged in a number that could represent what it would look like if you had 3.5 deals going on at any time. Now, why half of a deal? Well, sometimes when you're working out the math on how many deals you need to do by the end of the year, you can get into some half. So we're never going to do half of a deal, but when you're looking at it from budgeting and planning, you may plug in a half number here and there. You got to pay your phone bill. Our accountant has always been in support of us paying the cell phone bill from our business, and any bills that you can pay from the business is much better than paying them on a personal level. Internet service. Now, again, any of these you'd need to just double check with your tax professional. But we have an office space outside of the home. When we had an office inside of the home, we couldn't use internet service as a deduction, but because we have an office, we can. If you don't have an office, you won't need office rent right now. But if you do, you just want to account for that and the utilities at your office space. Marketing. It's hard for me to put a number in there for you guys for this right now. But if you remember back to section 1 or step 1 of this training, we said there is a way that you can do some very effective marketing and not pay a lot out of pocket. And so what we guided you to on that call was using a network of real estate investor friendly agents who are kind of specialized in finding the investment deals, and then wholesalers. So for either of those two categories, you got people sending you deals, and you don't have to pay for the marketing piece until you get to closing. So hopefully that makes sense. If you're doing all of your own marketing, you've got to pay for the leads and everything that may or may not turn into a contract. But if you've got a wholesaler that puts a good deal in front of you, then you've got your contract already, and you're paying them for their marketing services to get that good deal to you. So in some cases, you don't have to spend a lot to get the deals that you need. Or at least you don't have to have it like in your budget. You build it into the cost of the deal itself. For dues and subscriptions, one thing that we use that category for is to pay for some different software. So we use Adobe Sign. I'm drawing a blank right now on some of the other just main softwares that we use, but there's subscriptions, Zoom, my Zoom subscription, all that kind of stuff can fall under there. You may or may not have other office operating expenses. You may or may not be at the point in your business yet where you're doing meals or entertainment on the business. But all of these are IRS categories, kind of best practices to have on the list. So that's why I have them on there. You may be zero on some of these at this point in your business right now, but you don't want to delete them. You want to have them there to know that as you grow, these are ones that the IRS typically expects businesses to have. So these are ones that come up every month. Down here, we've got a place for periodic ones, like if everybody on this call is in Alabama, you're going to have to pay that yearly BVT tax. There may be other fees that you have to pay to Secretary of State. You may be paying for some, different equipment or things like that. That's not a monthly thing. It's more of kind of a one-time sprinkled out in there. But again, what this Excel spreadsheet does for you is it totals up all of your expenses from above, and it does kind of separate the salary so you can see there, what am I spending for my team, and then what am I spending on other expenses. So in this case, I'll show you in just a moment where this 30,000 comes from, but on the expense side, this business owner is paying themselves a six-figure salary. They're putting aside money into reserves. They're paying their taxes. They're doing everything, and they still have some money left over at the end of the month. So if that were me, I'd bump up the reserve amount until that reserve account was fully funded with that extra money. So how would you use this? Well, you'd want your bookkeeper pulling together all these numbers for you each month and then putting them into this sheet for you. And then you do your analysis on it and see, am I paying myself that full salary yet? Or am I trending up with it, right? You may only be paying yourself $1,500 a month right now out of your business if you're doing it part-time, but this gives you a way to strategically start taking it up and up and up until you hit that target and you begin to hit it consistently. What you don't measure, it's hard to ever get a grip on it. But what you do measure, you can plan success in. So I promise you guys a chance to see where does that 30,000 come from, because we've got the expense tab, but we want to have the income tab as well. So sale of a property is for a wholesaler, for a rehabber, the main source of income. So we've got that at the top. So why 30,000? Well, if you think back, like I was mentioning a moment ago, when we did session 1 in this series about finding your target deals, there was a piece of that tool that helped you determine how much minimum profit are you willing to have per deal. And so some people don't even look at that at all. It's an aha to them to say, wow, I could look at my deal before I ever buy it. I can analyze it to see how much profit I should make. And if I value my time enough, I'm not going to fool around with these $15,000, $18,000, maybe even $20,000 profit deals. I'm going to go for some that have more meat on the bone. So back in previous sessions, you can learn how to do that. In this example, the person has already determined that they want to have a minimum of $30,000 profit and they want to close a deal a month. So that's what's represented here on this budget. And you saw how it came over to the expense one, it carries over there by itself. And so you've got that income that you would plug in, and then you see how much money you got left over and if you're paying yourself enough. One of the things that we wanted to do on this income sheet is get you thinking about some other ways of generating income. So I'm not telling people on this deal, hey, go become a wholesaler, but you know yourselves that sometimes in your line of work, you run across more deals than you can do at sometimes. Sometimes you're starving for deals, but at other times you may have 2 or 3 hit at once and you can't do them all. If you wholesale and make something off of that, then that can go in this column where you're making some money from wholesaling a deal. You may be too busy to do 3 deals on your own right now, but you may do 2 and JV on a 3rd deal. So if you're doing some joint venture deals with someone else, that can be another source of profit. And then this is something that I thought was really wise, that I know some people who are doing remodel jobs for others. So they're in a position, they've got their contractor license and they've got the crews to do their own rehabs, but when times are a little slow, they keep those crews busy doing remodel jobs for others and make income from that. So those are a few things to look at. And then I know we all have creativity within us. This one is here to help your creative mind think, what are some other income streams that match up in your business? So if you had other numbers down through here, they would tally up. Let me just show you. If you made $5 grand from a wholesale deal, you see it automatically goes to 35,000 right there. And that carries over to this tab. So you see 35,000 profit came in there. What we also highlight on this sheet is that you've looked at the numbers and decided on an average profit per deal for yourself. How many deals per month you want to close. And then another important thing to start tracking is how many months does it take for your project from the time that you purchase it until you cash out, whether you're selling it or whether you're refinancing it to hold as a rental property. You need to begin to get a grip on the number of months that it takes you on average to finish a project. That's going to be a big help for the tool that we come up with next month that helps you plan your cash flow in months ahead. So that is the tool for this step in how to manage your cash flow and make sure, again, out of this whole thing, the reserves are probably number 1 important, but then number 2 on this whole sheet is right here. How much are you paying yourself for a salary here? We use the 100K because this is the 6 steps to 6 figure. And so that's what's represented here. And we're working to help people get there right now. But some of you may say, at this point, I'd really be happy with 50K a year from this business. That's fine. We just cut this in half. And that's what you shoot for. But the tool still gives you the track to run on and the way to organize your numbers so you can see if you're making money or not. And if you are making money, are you making enough to pay yourself what you said you wanted to hit when you were setting up your own goals? So there's the key points. We've got time left here at the end for some questions. I've done a lot of talking. What do you guys think? Comments of helpful, a little confusing, not confusing, ready to download it and use it? What do you guys think?
I believe it's very helpful. Just gotta download it, play with the numbers a little bit, just for the familiarity of it.
Absolutely. You're going to get very familiar with this, Robert. You're going to start looking at this thing
Oh yeah,
on a regular basis with back office. So this is going to be your friend, and we're going to help drive you to that number right there. Excellent. What else?
So what's really great about this, I think, is that you've given everything that almost everything you could possibly think of to track. You don't necessarily have everything to track if you don't have a lot of deals going on or you're just getting started. But if you were to start your business here and start your business with paying yourself whatever that amount is, you'd be way ahead of a lot of those who are out there, doing the real estate business. Ray and I learned this back years ago. If you said it, you can't measure what unless you track, right? You can't see where you are. You can't see if you're meeting goals. You don't know if you even have a business if you can't track what's going on in your business. So if it feels overwhelming to you because you're not a spreadsheet person, it's really all about just plugging in the numbers. It's going to do the formulas for you. So you don't have to do the math per se, which is what a lot of people are scared of. And feel free to ask us questions because we're happy to help. It just would be amazing if you just did the most important one is start paying yourself something first, right? Then you start to build a business.
Absolutely. And as you were saying that, Julie, a question came up that people may have, and just nobody's voiced it yet, but what about the paying the contractor, buying the supplies? Where's all of that stuff related to your project on here? Well, that's included in your rehab budget. All of that stuff is included over there as far as paying the contractors, buying the supplies and things like that. Now, you for paying the holding costs on it, like if you pay your insurance by the month, paying for electricity and water and things like that, that would be a good line item. So we're going to add that right now.
Yeah, good.
The holding costs for rehabs, those are going to be some things, but all of those other hard costs, that's going to come off of your rehab budget. So if you're funding 100% of the rehab, like most people that work with us do, all that's covered in your rehab budget. So it's not something that's coming out of your pocket. It's built into your loan. So that's why you don't see that on the spreadsheet.
I'd love to put Tanner on the spot for just a minute. Y'all know he's been on this call with us from when we started, but he is now an official team member for REI Funding Partners, and he has a ton of experience in project management. And so we've been chatting about this. Tanner, front face forward, say hello to everybody because you're talking to him on the phone, and just maybe give a little bit of why this is so important.
Hello, everyone. Julia, thank you for the introduction. That's one of the better ones in my life so far. So I appreciate that.
We got to do better.
But yeah, Julia's right. So, I came from a background of managing large jobs, $10 million jobs, and we'd manage our budgets in the exact same way. We'd use very similar tools to what Ray's presented to you guys throughout this course. And that's kind of the beauty of it because it's really scalable. So this may look new and foreign, and it's going to require a little bit of thought to get used to it, but you kind of do the thinking one time. And then from then forward, you can use this same template month over month, and it gets way faster. But as your business grows and you get more complexity to it, you got to be able to roll everything up so you can digest it in one screen. And that's where this comes in. It also gives you insight into the different areas of your business. So you can tell like what levers you need to pull. Like if you're spending $2,000 a month on internet services, somehow you wouldn't know it unless you rolled it up into something like this. But then it becomes very easy to take action and correct whatever error or problem there is in your business. So I highly recommend getting in tune with this and making it what you need it to be so that you can manage your business, because really on the tail end of it, it's going to reduce your stress because you see everything, you're tracking it as it goes on month to month, and nothing's going to sneak up on you. So yeah, I think this is fantastic.
Good stuff.
Well said.
And just keep in mind, unless you are a spreadsheet person, you don't have to fill this out yourself. As we said in one of the earlier slides, you've got to have that professional team around you if you're going to really make good money at this. And if you're paying $200-300 a month even, if it's a little more than that for a bookkeeper, but they're keeping track of all your numbers for all your projects, and they're putting all the important numbers into a tracking sheet like this, that's a small expense for the value that they're bringing. And when you can see all of the numbers like this, you may be okay on the spending side. It may be the income side that you have to look at. You might say, well, I want to make 6 figures a year, but I'm only doing 3 deals. It's not lining up. I need to ramp this thing up and do at least 5 deals a month, or however the math works out. When you got a tool like this, it's easy enough to play with the numbers and say, okay, I've got to either do more profitable deals or do more of them, or some mix in between, right? Maybe you're doing $20,000 deals now, or $15,000 deals, and you realize you want to be at that 30K or 35K minimum profit. And if that sounds not doable to you, it is doable. I mean, we've seen people do $150,000 profit jobs, on one job. So to make 30 or more per deal, you just gotta keep looking through the deals and then analyze it on the front to make sure that the profit margin is there. But they're out there. So again, this is recorded. This will be posted on the Inner Circle website, so you can go back and view it again. I'll have this tool ready for you to download very soon. There's a couple of tweaks that I want to make to it that I can see here before I put it up there. But it'll be ready to go and ready to use. So let me swap back to the PowerPoint now, just real quick, and we'll finish this session out. Well, yes, there we go. All right. So hard to believe the months have just clicked off, but we've been all the way from step 1 on the 6-figure marketing plan to September is going to be step 6, and that's called the monthly cash flow predictor. So not only do we want to help you manage cash flow and begin paying yourself at that right target amount that you want, but we want to help you make sure that you do that month in and month out with predictability. So that's what we're going to have teed up for next month with the monthly cash flow predictor. I hope you can see that from front to back, it's how to get the deals in, how to make sure that they're profitable, how to make sure that you're doing it month in and out to pay yourself. So front to back, it's got the steps in there that you need in order to be as successful as you want to be at this business, and different people define it different ways. If you want to work a full-time job and make $30,000-$40,000 a year in rehabbing, you can do that. If you want to quit your job and make $150,000 a year or more doing rehabs, you can do that. It's just whichever one you choose is right for you. You just have to have the plan in place to do it, and the team to back it up. So here is our challenge slide. What is your next step? Decide on an action that you're going to commit to take before our next meeting. The 2 that we would strongly recommend coming out of this session is, number 1, start your cash reserve account if you don't have one. If you do, decide how much you're going to put aside each month to build it up all the way. And then secondly, interview a bookkeeper. We interviewed one for you last week. We're going to do a recording with them, and it's going to be sent out to everyone. Julia, tell them where it's going to hit first.
Yes, that's part of the beauty of y'all being in the Inner Circle. That webpage has everything that you need to know, both before and going forward. We're going to drop those into that webpage as we start building out that the videos for our protein resources for y'all. So you can go in there and see the interview, see what their specialty is. One of our main criteria is that they are very much experienced with working with real estate investors, because as you all know out there, there's title companies and then there's title companies. There's insurance companies and there's insurance companies. Like we want you guys connecting with the ones that work with real estate investors. So we're going to drop those onto that Inner Circle webpage. And you're going to be able to start seeing those people we vetted out for you. And hopefully you'll be able to maybe put some of them on your team.
That's right. That page, Facebook as well. So the places to connect, the Inner Circle webpage is what you will find if you scan that QR code. The Facebook group, you can find that Facebook group through the Inner Circle webpage, or if you're on Facebook, you can search out REI Funding Partners, and you can connect with us there. That's where we're going to drop information first. That's where we can answer questions and interact with everyone. Just the regular Facebook page for our company is here, REI Funding Partners. A lot of discussions going on there. We'd love to do shout outs when people finish their projects and help promote you guys. So that's a good place to do that. If you're not following the page, just know that we can't do a shout out if you're not following. It doesn't come up on there when we start to type it in and let us fill it in. So last slide is just to help you guys get set up for the next month. Again, it's about consistency next time. So the monthly cash flow predictor, it's going to be on the third Monday in September instead of the second Monday. We had another obligation for Monday, September the 11th. So we're looking forward to kind of getting to the finish line on the 6 steps to 6 figures, put that last tool in your hands, and start seeing some of the success stories out of this.
Reach out if you need anything. We're here for you.
That's it. So anything else before we wrap up? You guys are a little unusually quiet tonight. I know a lot of numbers and spreadsheets sometimes can be a little brain crunch, but there's really no way around looking at the numbers for the business. We've tried to simplify it as much as possible with the streamlining the tools and putting the right tools in front of you.
Good job, Ray. Spreadsheet man.
Thank you. Let me stop the record.